Good evening, and welcome to another Bible study with the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. We are located at 158 West Inglewood Avenue in Inglewood, New Jersey. My name is Jeffrey Blair.
I'm Edward Avilés.
And we are here to have a great discussion with you guys today.
Yes, we are.
As always, we encourage you to comment in the chat section. We encourage you to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We encourage if you would like to learn more about who we are as Israelites, as a part of the Israelite nation, that you would click the link in the description below, and that you would put sevens and fires in if you like what you're hearing. So today we have a lot to discuss.
Yes, we do.
Where to begin? Where to begin?
Oh, man. Where do we begin? Well, I have a good topic. Do we need to see miracles in order to believe?
Seeing miracles in order to believe. Yeah, I mean, I think that's so funny because I've been thinking about the idea of belief for a bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever been, asked a question of someone asking you, what do you believe in?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think for me, whenever I hear that question, it can be in the context of politics or of social justice, but oftentimes it's with the topic of religion, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And when it comes to the idea of belief, I think it's interesting to me that question oftentimes refers to the belief in the existence of a God.
That's right.
And I think for me, that speaks to the idea that we as a people, as a nation, or even as human beings, the idea that we are at a point in our history of even questioning, is there a God, speaks volumes. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But to jump off what you're saying there, that's so true.
Mm.
We as a nation, okay, do we believe in the God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob? But does the world believe in this God, that God? What do the atheists believe in? They don't believe in a God, but what do they worship? Is there another power, another entity? We don't know. But we're talking about Israelites specifically. Using the examples within our Holy Scripture, the King James Bible, okay, we see the miracles. We see the examples that our Father has done. But do we still believe it, though? Did our forefathers believe it? So there's something to dive into here. Let's take a look into that story.
For sure.
Okay.
And I think even to add to that too as well, I think when it comes to belief in who we are and sort of who our God is as Israelites, it's interesting now that, I think we spend a lot of time like trying to get other people to believe the existence of the God of Israel, and even to believe that we as the children of slavery are even Israelites, right? And I think that speaks volumes because, again, it goes to show that our spirituality as a whole is so shriveled compared to what it was in the past, that even the idea of us being the children of the God of Israel and the God of Israel being our Father is something that is so, I guess I would say uncomfortable for people to accept.
That's right.
And so I think when I compare, you ever sit back and wonder about our enslavements? Oh. And you think about the idea of what enslavement was the most difficult, right? And I always think about this enslavement being particularly difficult because of scriptures like Psalms 83, for example, where it speaks about, I'm going to put you in a position where the name of Israel is no more in remembrance. Right. And that has a lot to do with the idea of belief, because taking away the idea and the identity of Israel took away the belief of who is Israel, right?
Who we are.
It took away the belief of who is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that no longer is really there, I say that all to say that the idea of belief is extremely important as an Israelite, and it's something that we don't take very lightly. It's like a requirement, even.
Of course.
Right.
You want to be part of this nation, you believe in the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
Right.
You worship no other God that's out there.
Right.
If you're listening here now, you want to follow along what we have here for you tonight. Simple as that.
Right. I mean, what is being an Israelite without belief, right?
Oh. It goes hand in hand, though. You can't have one. You can't have the other. No, they go together.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't say, "Oh, I'm an Israelite," but what is the God of Israel? Why you hear them?
Right.
No, really.
That's true. So let's start by going to someone who I think is not only a good example of what we would say is a good Israelite, but even of someone that we would say is someone that is someone who exemplifies the idea of belief.
Someone who was that dedicated.
That dedicated.
Focused.
Exactly.
That knew what needed to be done.
Exactly.
So where are we going?
So we're going to go to Genesis chapter 12.
Okay, yeah.
And this is a popular scripture. Many teachers have spoken about this in the past.
That's right.
But it's for a particular reason, right? So Genesis 12, and we're going to read 1 to 5. Genesis 12, 1 to 5.
Okay.
You want to read this one, or you want me to?
Well,
okay.
Now the Lord said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. Let's stop right there. Right at the second verse. I'm going to make you great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bless you.
Mm-hmm.
You, Abram.
Mm-hmm.
Not Abraham yet. Abram. Not yet. See?
Right.
For sure. 3. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Mm-hmm. So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, before you read the last verse, one of the things that I like about, that verse in particular is it seems, again, you can even read it in the sense of like, he didn't even question, right? It was just the idea of, I heard this voice that came, or again, this God, this Lord that comes to me and says, come with me, follow me, do this thing, and I'm going to, as you said, I'm going to bless you, right? I'll make you a great people, a great nation. And considering, again, how old he is at this point, there's the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right?
Yeah.
But in this sense, you had this old man,
75 years
old, who is considering this voice that is saying, listen to me and I'll make you great. And he decides to go exactly with that, right?
Put yourself in that spot. You're 75 years old, you have a whole family and everything.
Yeah.
You have a tribe, you have your own tribe of people. Listen to my voice. I will make you great. Come with me. What?
Right.
I'm old as the hill. What?
Right. But again, I think putting that in the context of today, I think it would be so difficult for, I think 99% of the world's population today to even consider something like this. Mm-hmm. Again, because of our belief is so dwarfed.
It is.
Compared to, I would say our forefathers. But I think it's very difficult for us to even consider or fathom this,
To jump what you said, if that happens today, I heard a voice from the sky, that dude's crazy.
Yeah. That's true, right to the asylum. That's true. Okay, so read that last verse
5.
Again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth into the land of Canaan, and the land of Canaan they came.
Again, Abram does exactly what he is told, and very little questioning, but a huge amount of belief in this thing that, there's a scripture that Paul, I think, says about what the idea of faith is, right? And he says that faith is belief of something that does not sort of have a physical existence. It doesn't have sort of a means or a logical means to be there, but you still have the faith and the belief in that thing. And I think the idea of belief and faith when it comes to being an Israelite oftentimes can go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say that someone like Abram, who will become Abraham as we know, is a really, really good example of sort of what that truly, truly means. And again, he is sort of the idealized version that we sort of speak about of this is the type of Israelite that we should all seek to be,
That's right. Like you said, he had that dedication.
Right.
He had that belief.
Right.
He heard that voice. He says, okay, this is for me. This is the path to go down.
Right. Exactly. So, we could stick with Abram a little bit and sort of see sort of his progress and more instances of belief for him. I know there's one example with Abram and sort of coming to that point of having a child.
That's right.
Right. So that is sort of his sort of next stage is the God of Israel says, I want to bless you with a child so you can be the father of many nations. Right.
And remember, Sarai, who became Sarah, was barren.
Exactly.
Right. So I believe in that story, which was in Genesis 18. All right.
Right.
These men, they came and they said, okay, we bless you with a child. And wasn't Sarah in the back laughing like, me for child?
Right, right.
What? It's like my old stricken age?
Right,
What?
right, right.
Like,
Yeah. So
but what happened?
then she has a child, right?
Yeah,
She has the child.
She had the child.
Right.
Like, who are you to doubt God? Who are you to doubt God's power?
Right. But that idea again of doubt, I think, is such a strong thing, because the doubt, I think, is what is most natural, right? Because again, we are so inclined as people to trust in those physical things. As I was saying before in the beginning of this talk, in today's context, in today's world, we often measure again that physical, the physicality of things, the quote unquote science of things versus God, and we put God and religion in sort of this other category of being not really real,
That's right.
But as an Israelite, it's the understanding of that spiritual component, those things that seem almost illogical, that don't really make that much physical sense. That's actually the source of my spiritual strength, right?
And that's what the world is not going to understand.
Right.
That we had that spiritual understanding.
Right.
The world doesn't.
Right.
Only us selected few that we can teach you.
For sure.
But the world's not going to understand it.
For sure.
And like you said, what does the world want? They want to see something physical. Oh, I just received this. What's the proof? Well, I just saw that. What's the proof? Right. We don't get that every day.
Right. Of course.
But what's a good example of how, our forefathers wanted to see something physical, when they wanted a king. And why don't we turn to that real quick? Go to 1 Samuel chapter 8, verses 5 to 9.
1 Samuel 8,
5 to 9.
5 to 9. Okay. Let's see if we can take a look at this.
Okay.
1 Samuel 8, 5 to 9. Yeah, I can read this one actually.
Sure. No problem.
I'm at the right place. Okay.
1 Samuel 8, 5 to 9.
5 to 9. And said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. And now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. So I guess just for some context, now we're speaking about when the nation of Israel is speaking to Samuel, who's old now. His sons have been judges over Israel for some time. However, they're not very good judges. They're a little bit corrupt, right? And so they're saying, we don't want the leadership of your sons, but give us a king instead, right? So verse 6. But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people and all that they say unto thee. For they have not rejected thee, they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them, according to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods, so do they also unto thee. Now therefore hearken unto their voice, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. I think we can stop there. Yeah.
So you see right there, everything that I've done for them since Egypt. What happened in Egypt? What happened in the Great Exodus? We've seen the plagues. The waters were divided. We've seen everything under the sun. Even when we were in the wilderness, the God of Israel was still looking out for us. And he said, I did all this for you, and you want to worship a physical being? You want a king?
Right.
Can you imagine how he must have felt? Disrespect, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, it goes back to the idea of in Israel, we are, again, a very unique nation in that our idea of a king, our idea of sort of our ultimate, leader and power source, all of that is something that is not physical, right?
Exactly.
If you were to take a tour, right, through all the nations throughout the earth, and you go to their place of worship, you go to their temple, their churches, you go to their mosque, or whatever it may be, you're going to see physical things there that they bow down to.
You're going to see monuments.
You're going to see monuments, things of that nature. And all of these things are things in which other nations call upon as their God.
Exactly.
If you go to other nations back in this time, you would see all nations have a being or a king that is there ruling over them. But for Israel, our king was our God, right? And again, it's the idea still of belief of can I believe, can I stand behind a leader, a God that I cannot see, right? Yep. But think about that. I think that is essentially what it is at the fundamental sense of what it means to be an Israelite.
You mentioned how all these other cultures, all these nations, they have their statues, their monuments, their temples to their gods.
Mm-hmm.
And then the God of Israel say in Leviticus, when he broke down the laws, don't do this,
Mm-hmm.
don't do that, don't be like other nations.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but they have a king. Why can't we have one?
Right.
Like, what did I just say? It's children.
Right.
Like, it's oh my goodness.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, again, we are constantly trying to go towards the physical because it is easier to believe in that. But I think even if we think about the idea of belief and faith being the same thing, if you can only have faith or belief in something that you can see, is it truly belief? Is it truly faith?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I think, again, this is a great example to show, again, that we as Israel are constantly going towards that non-belief, that non-faith, because it's easier to do. Just as Abraham, we saw, was a great example of someone that could do it without having to see a physical God, right?
He just felt that. He
just
knew.
Felt that. Exactly.
He knew. Okay,
exactly.
This is the path for me.
Right.
Time to go.
Right. So a good sort of like balance.
And then generations later, I want that. Like, no.
Right.
But it's really hard though to separate that physical and the spiritual.
Yeah.
It's truly difficult to do.
For sure.
That's why we have to keep working at it. Keep our studying going, keep our prayers going. It's a continuing battle for us.
Definitely.
Right.
And I would say too that I think one thing that I would like to speak about too is when it comes to Israel and belief, I think it's also important to understand that belief, by itself, just to have belief, right? I think is almost for naught because, what is the purpose of that belief, right? What is the purpose of that faith? And I say that to say we have a lot of great examples in the scriptures of people who believe and have faith, and that ends up creating a good result for them, right? So a great example that I love to speak about is the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? Yeah. So can we go to that story real quickly just to kind of get a sense of that?
That's a really good example.
Yeah. So let's go to Daniel chapter 3.
That's a good example right there.
And I just love this story.
Prime example, having your faith, belief in your God.
Yeah. So Daniel chapter 3. And actually, let's start from... Let's see. Can you actually, I don't know, do you want to start from maybe like 25 or 26?
25, 26.
Or, even if we go up a little bit. Just so we can get a sense of the full story,
just have a little background insight what's happening here.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, so let's do verse 23.
23.
And we'll go to like verse 29 or so. But just again, for some context, again, we know that, in this time, Israel is in captivity again, as we tend to be time and time again.
Because of our disobedience.
Yes, because of that disobedience, that non-belief, of course. And we are at a point in which the king and the ruler who is over us is essentially has made a decree, right? That whenever you hear a certain sound, you should get down and pray to this God, essentially, right?
That's right.
And
in those days, if you don't listen, you don't obey, it's instant death.
Right. So again, the king could do whatever he wants.
Exactly.
And so his decision was, if you don't do this thing, you're gonna end up in a fiery pit, basically, right? So let's see what happens with this story. Again, it's a pretty popular story, but it's one that's really.
So you said verse 23?
Yeah, verse 23.
And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the midst of the burning fiery furnace.
Right.
Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was astonished and rose up in haste and spake and said unto his counselors, Did not we cast three men bound into the midst of the fire? They answered and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see four men loose, walking in the midst in the fire, and they have no hurt. And the form of the fourth is like the Son of God. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth, and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire.
Hold on, stop right there really quickly. So I think one of the things to take of note here is that, there is a sense that, of course, we know from the start of what you read that they obviously said, no, I'm not going to bow down to this thing.
No. So,
right?
So what's sentence? Being tossed into this furnace.
Exactly.
Okay,
So
and what happens?
Yeah, so once they get in there, of course, the king is seeing that these men are not burning. Not only that, but he is seeing something that he says is like the Son of God. So he is saying that he recognizes something about this is spiritual, right?
That's right.
He's recognizing something about this is not physical in that sense, right? But what I think is truly important is the idea that these three men, right, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, are so into their belief and who they are as Israelites, and so committed to who their God is, what the law, statutes, and commandments are, the instructions that they were given, that they're willing to die for this, right? Because it's not that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were told before this, don't worry, you're going to be okay, go in the fire, and you know what I'm saying? No. They are going in the fire without any evidence to let them know that they're going to be okay.
That's right.
But believing that this is not what I do. I am an Israelite. My God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and therefore I can be in that fire.
That's right. I'm not going to bow down to your God. I don't care what you do to me.
Yeah.
And then who knows what they could have been thinking afterward.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine, again, put yourself in those shoes years ago. Are you going to bow down? You're going to run away from that furnace? The Israelites, we stand firm to our belief.
Right.
True and true.
Right. And I think it's extremely hard. Again, we have a hard time in today's context even understanding and believing that Jacobites are the children of Israel. Something that, again, we can look in the scriptures and see with our eyes. That is something that is hard for us to believe as a people. How much less to believe that by standing up for your God and for what you believe in and walking in a fire, you'll be untouched.
Yeah.
I don't think we even sometimes can fathom the power in that type of belief.
That's
you
true.
know?
That's
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's so true.
Yes. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Good.
Okay, verse 27.
Yeah.
And the princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was their hair on their head singed, neither were their coats changed.
I'm sorry.
What's up?
I just really like that phrase, upon whose bodies the fire had no power.
It didn't affect them. But they didn't smell. Yeah. They weren't singed. They were fine.
But even the idea or the word power that's placed there, right? It's like the power of belief as an Israelite is stronger than the power of any physical thing that you could do to that person. I don't know. That's just, I don't know.
That's
cool.
Yeah. All right, it's amazing. It's
kind of powerful for me. Yeah. Good.
It's really amazing. Neither were the coats changed, nor the smell of the fire had passed on them. So they came out just fine.
Yeah.
Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they might not serve nor worship any god except their own God.
Wow.
Okay, so he sees this. He's acknowledging this. Okay, he knows their trust in their God is more powerful than I don't know what, like you just said seconds ago. Amazing.
And I think again, this even speaks to what I was saying before in terms of having faith and belief to a purpose, right? Their purpose here again is, I am not going to bow down to this other God or this king. I'm not going to subject myself as someone that is an Israelite to go against my standard. And therefore, I have belief that my God is either going to deliver me or that my God is going to protect me in some way, shape, or form. And in this way, they are able to have the result where another nation, another king is able to recognize who their God is.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
A non-Israelite recognized the power. A non-Israelite is seeing what's happening. Like, wait a minute, what is this?
Yeah.
Okay, and even this non-Israelite, this king is saying, okay, there's something special about these men. Let's not touch them. Leave them alone.
Right.
As a matter of fact, he made a decree. Let's finish this verse. That I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and the house shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God that can deliver after this sort.
Wow.
He believed. He saw the power. He's okay. You know what? You make fun of their gods. Essentially, I'm going to kill you. All right, I'm going to destroy your home. You're dead.
Right.
All right. A non-Israelite made a decree. A non-Israelite sees that power.
Yeah. And isn't that so funny that his initial decree was, if you don't bow down to my
God,
you're going to be put in this fire.
Yeah.
Now it's, if you say anything against them or their God or these people, you're going to be cut into pieces, right?
Yeah.
So I find that truly, truly powerful.
It is. It really is.
I think too, like the idea that another nation, that your belief could cause another nation to believe and to understand who your God is, I think is extremely powerful,
And that's the thing, Jeff. A non-Israelite is seeing this power. What about an actual Israelite? What's our excuse? Yeah. What is our problem? Yeah. Like you said, we're too attached to that physical. We're too attached to that. We need that physical thing. Yeah. An outsider is saying, oh my gosh, yo, watch out. What about us? We're going to do wrong anyway.
Right.
It's
right. And I think that when we look at too, from the perspective of the king in this scenario, you would say the king in this scenario witnessed a miracle, right? Yeah. Because by all sense of science and the physical world, those men should have died, right?
Exactly.
And so in this context, we could say for him, the miracle was required for his belief. And isn't that particularly interesting, right? That
it is.
As Israel, as we just said, as I spoke about, Paul speaks about, we speak about the idea of faith and belief. And we say that as Israelites, we should not require that physical part to necessarily believe in our God being able to protect us, to save us, to heal us, and all these things. But in this context, we have a non-Israelite who, of course, is not going to believe in our God, right? But they witness and they see this miracle happen, that we, being the sort of manifestation of our God, we'll say, like, in the sense, they see that, and then they are able to believe because of these miracles that occur, right?
It's amazing.
Amazing.
It's truly amazing.
Oh, man, yes. But I think we can relate to that, too, even in this modern day, because, again, if we see ourselves continually as as the representative of our God here on this earth, the representative here, even in the Americas, as we talk about, the children of slavery, if we can all see ourselves in that light as, I am an Israelite, or I am a Jacobite who becomes an Israelite, and I have the greatest God ever, the God that created the heavens and earth, and the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, if that is what we can have as be established of who we are, and have true belief in who our God is, it seems that power and that ability to show miracles to the world is absolutely limitless, right?
It's a beautiful thing, Jeffrey.
Beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, for sure.
If you like what you just heard, if you like the scriptures, you like what's going on here, please throw some fires down below.
7s in the chat.
Put the like button. Please comment.
Subscribe, comment, chat. Let us know that you like what you're hearing, for sure.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So I would like us to fast forward a bit and get into, I think when people speak about us as sort of Israelites, I think we often consider the Old Testament a lot. We consider Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and David, but I think it's important to continually show evidence of the same type of teachings, the same things being said even in what is called the New Testament, right?
How they, miracles don't end.
Yeah.
The God of Israel is doing his work.
Yeah.
Old and new, first and second, however you want to label this.
For sure.
He's doing his miracles and his work through and through.
And the requirement of belief is continual, right? There's no point at which belief and faith is not required of an Israelite throughout the entire scriptures, right? Okay. So let's make our way to Mark chapter 5. I want to get to a really important scripture here.
Sounds good. Okay. Mark chapter 5, and we'll start at, verse 35. Around that range.
Let's see. Mark 5. Do you say 35?
Yes.
Sure. I'm going to read this one?
Sure.
While he yet spake, there came from the ruler of the synagogue's house certain which said, Thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou the master any further? So in this context, we know the master to be Jesus, right, who is there.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he saith unto the ruler of the synagogue, Be not afraid, only believe. So let's stop there really quickly.
Be not afraid.
Be not afraid.
Only believe.
Only believe, yes. So I guess before we get any further, when you hear that, like, again, let's look at it very real, right? Very real world context. You know, like lately I've been considering the scriptures in terms of like watching a film, right?
Huh?
So imagine this as a scene, right? You have the leader or the ruler of this synagogue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone says, your daughter's dead, right? You know? I mean, that, and then to have someone say, don't be afraid, but to believe, right? The amount of internal conflict, I think, would be enormous, right?
Can you begin to imagine that?
Exactly.
Your family member just passed away.
Yeah.
And someone's telling you, it's okay, believe.
Right.
Like that emotional turmoil. Like
right.
It's the internal battle, like you just mentioned. Like, what? What?
Right. So he says, be not afraid, only believe. So let's see what he does after that.
Okay.
Verse 37. And he suffered no man to follow him save Peter, James, and John, the brother of James.
Mm-hmm.
And he cometh to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and seeth the tumult, and them that wept and wailed greatly. So again, I think about this as a film, right? He's at the synagogue. Someone says this thing. They all go back to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and everyone is crying and weeping. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. This daughter, who we'll learn is a young girl, this daughter is dead, right? And the weeping and crying, as you might imagine, again.
Mm-hmm. And he's there with his 3 people.
Yeah, 3 people.
It's okay, and believe.
That's important too, that he brought these 3 people.
That's right.
Right? And when he was come in, verse 39. And when he was come in, he saith unto them, Why make ye this ado and weep? The damsel is not dead, but sleepeth. So again, the film, right?
That's right.
He's in there now. You can imagine this guy walking through the door. Everyone is crying, weeping. He's the only one that's not crying and weeping, and his guys with him.
Yeah. His boys with him. That's okay. Believe. Yeah. Like, what? She ain't dead. She can sleep.
Right.
What? Like, again, put yourself in that spot.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to feel? That emotional turmoil. You mean she's asleep?
Exactly. But like, I think it even says, right, in verse 40, and they laughed him to scorn. I mean,
there you go.
It's even comical, right? I'm seeing her. I see this body. She's lifeless. She's dead. She has no pulse. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are things about her that proven physically she is dead, right?
Mm-hmm. But Jeff, they laughed him to scorn. Like, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, man.
Which reminds us back to even with Sarah. She laughed, right?
She laughed too.
Yeah.
You know, right. and then weren't they like, who laughing back there? Like, can't I hide that? Like,
yeah. Right. So they laughed him to scorn. So, and they laughed him to scorn, verse 40.
Mm-hmm.
But when he had put them all out, which again, I want to get back to that.
Yes.
But when he had put them all out, he taketh the father and the mother of the damsel, and them that were with him.
His 3?
Yes. And entereth in where the damsel was lying. And he took the damsel by the hand and said unto her, Talitha Kumi, which is being interpreted, Damsel, I say unto thee, arise. Now, before we get to the actual miracle, the thing that I think is important too is the people that laughed him to scorn, he says, you guys got to go.
Exactly.
You guys got to go.
Like, all you that's laughing, that don't believe, out the door.
And I think it's important for us to understand that even as we try to do what we are mandated to do, which is to teach all nations, to build up our nation as a people.
You know, Jeff, if I can interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead.
If we do any job as an Israelite, we do it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
We do it that, you know, that we want to do this. We got the confidence to do this, the positiveness to do this. You know, if we have someone in our way, you can't do that. Okay, excuse me. Like, step aside all the negativity.
Right.
Focus on the task at hand.
Right.
Isn't that what Jesus did?
Right.
Okay, all of you that don't believe, that's laughing at me, out the door. Okay, I got a job to do. I need to keep this positive atmosphere.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
Right. Exactly. You need for the people that are going to be doing that thing to be in one accord.
There you go.
And for everyone that is doing that thing to have belief, right?
That's it.
And so in this sense, there's a reason why he keeps the mother and the father there.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are the ones who are going to want more than anything else for this man to be who he says he is. Why? Because if you are who you say you are, my daughter can live, right? So again, I think it's important to recognize who he keeps in the room and what he's actually doing in this moment. Okay. So he says this thing. Sorry, go ahead.
You got the mom, got the dad, and he got his 3 homies.
Exactly.
That's all he needed.
Right.
To show his power. And what happens next?
Right. So again, as you just said, they're in the room.
Yep.
We're seeing this on film. You can imagine it's quiet. There's no music right now. And you can hear a pin drop. He's down. He's by the body. Everyone's around him. They're all doing their part. The mother and father are probably crying, weeping, but still believing and hoping that this man who says he is Jesus the Christ is truly Jesus the Christ. Right?
Like, can this man really do this? Like, what's going on?
Exactly.
Again, that emotional turmoil.
Exactly.
What are the parents thinking?
Exactly. Okay, so verse 42. So I'm sorry, let's go back to verse 41.
Yeah.
And he took the damsel by the hand, and he said unto her, Talitha cumi, which is being interpreted, Damsel, I say unto thee, arise. And straightway the damsel arose and walked, for she was of the age of 12 years. And they were astonished with great astonishment. And he charged them straitly that no man should know it, and commanded that something should be given her to eat.
Okay. So what happens here? Stepped over her. I'm sorry. He's over her. Okay. He said the words. She rose up. She's alive. She's breathing again. Right. What? They were astonished. Words. They were astonished. But what was said after that? Okay. Charge them straightly. No man should know it. Okay. So whatever happened here is between us.
Right.
Nobody's to know what happened. Okay. They don't want to believe. Then they don't got to know about this. So this miracle happened, and who only witnessed it? His 3 boys. Like,
definitely. Oh. Yeah. And again, I think this is an extremely powerful scripture for a number of reasons, but I think again it shows even in this context too, one, the need for belief to get a job done as an Israelite.
There you go.
Again, I think as I was saying in the earlier scriptures, as an Israelite, which is why again I say it, our faith, our belief as a society as a whole is so small, because we're arguing about things and trying to say, do we believe in things that should be very much matter of fact. So for example, does God exist? Are black people in America the true Israelites? All of those things are things that I think in my eyes, it's almost doesn't require belief because it's such a small matter, right? But for something like this that we're speaking about, it has a purpose to it, right? I'm trying and attempting to bring back someone from the dead, right? That requires a certain sense of belief, that understanding that God exists is elementary compared to this, which is like college level of spirituality, right? So, or even beyond that. And so I think, again, just comparing and contrasting then and now, it amazes me, again, sometimes the discussions that people may have in today's current climate and context when it comes to belief. But also on the flip side of that, this miracle that occurs, I'm 1,000%. When all those people who are out, when they see her walking around town now, they're like, oh my goodness, right?
Wait a minute, wasn't she?
Yeah. I mean, imagine that, right?
They're going to ask the parents, yo, what happened? I don't know.
Right. I mean,
I don't know.
But yeah, and again, I think we see this with what Jesus does is a lot of what he does, again, gets people to see the miracle is able to allow them to have a sense of belief that previously they did not have, right? So in this context, again, there is room for that miracle to cause that belief,
Now the question is, did that miracle, spark something in them?
Yeah. Right.
That's the real question there.
Right. So I want to keep on this vein, keep on this train, right?
I think another good one would be, how about when Thomas, when he was doubting what Jesus is back, like, where is he? Let me see him.
Yeah.
That'd be a good example right there.
Yeah.
So let's turn to John chapter 20.
Sure.
Okay. John chapter 20. Let's see. We could start at verse 24. Because at this point, Jesus was crucified. You know, too far back. John 20, verse 24. I can read this one. But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Jesus came. The other disciples, therefore, said unto him, We have seen the Lord. But he said unto him, Except I shall see in the hands and the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe.
So, again, for some context, as you were saying, this is after Jesus has already been crucified and he's died already. They put him in the sepulcher and sort of he's in there, and but when they come back and his body's not there, and they see him afterwards, right?
That's right.
And the response of Thomas, who again is one of the 12, the response of him was, I can't believe that.
No.
I can't believe that,
No, that's why I see the nail hole and the poke you like.
I need to see again, because why would he have that hole?
Exactly.
Because he was again crucified, and they also know from the spear that went into his side, right? So for all these things, I need to see that physical thing. I need to put my hand and touch so that I can believe, right?
Mind you, what Jeffrey just said, he's one of the 12.
Yeah.
One of the 12 is saying this.
Yeah. Which I think should show you too that the idea of belief, as simple as it may seem, is actually a very difficult thing. Like I think I say it in a way that, although I think in today's context, like our belief is very small and very dwarfed, I also think that just the idea of belief as a whole, the idea of faith as a whole, is not easy, and it requires constant work to be put into that to allow you to be able to fully have that faith, to have that belief. And I think you can't wait till you're in situations like this to sort of activate that belief. You have to sort of constantly be almost practicing, right? But even then, I think one of the 12, again, is unable to really fathom exactly. And it's not like this is a secret, right? Like I think he had been explaining this even before when he was living. So I think even that idea of belief with one of the 12 is it's extremely difficult to do, right? Yes. And sort of I need to take the time to actually touch and feel before I believe what my brothers are saying to me, Yep. Sorry, go ahead.
No. So 26. And after 8 days again, his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Jesus, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said, Peace be unto you. And you see right there? They came back again, days later, and there was Jesus in the midst of it. And what's the first thing Jesus said? Peace be unto you. So that's a little bit within our culture right there. We enter, a household. What do we say?
Peace. You say peace
be unto you.
Into this house. Yeah.
So it's within that Israelite culture.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And 28. And Thomas.
27.
I'm sorry. 27. Sorry. Then saith he to Thomas, Reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands, and reach hither thy hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing.
Again, highlighting that belief, right? Be not faithless, but believe. Again, that word faith too is in there too, right?
It is.
Be not faithless, but believe. Yeah.
Perfect. And Thomas answered and said unto him, My Lord and my God. Jesus saith unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen, yet have believed.
Oh my gosh, that's a heavy one.
Goodness.
That's a heavy one, right? So let's read that again. Read that again. Yeah.
Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed.
Wow.
So those who still believe, they didn't have to see it, but they know, they knew, they felt it, they believed it.
Right.
Blessed are them.
Yeah. Like, again, speaking to the idea of, as an Israelite, it's a part of our identity. It's a part of who we are to truly have belief beyond that physical, beyond needing to see that proof. which again goes totally in contrary to what the world tells us we need to do as a people, right?
Crazy.
Totally.
It's beyond craziness.
Yeah. So again, highlighting that fact, be not faithless, but believe, and blessed are they that have not seen and still have believed.
Because they had that faith.
Right.
They had that belief.
Right.
This is perfect to go with the lesson.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. For sure. So again, I want to keep on this, and I want to actually go back in time a bit, back to when Jesus was alive and doing these types of miracles. Let's go to Matthew, and we're going to go to Matthew chapter 14.
No problem.
But Matthew 14.
But it's a really good verse. Like, you know, blessed are they have not seen. Like,
I love that.
It's beautiful.
I love that a lot.
You know, it's really beautiful.
Okay, 13.
You know, and I always say this: just picture yourself in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jesus was just crucified. Jesus was just crucified, and Thomas goes, hey, "Where is he? If he around, let me poke his hole."
Yeah.
And there he is. Peace, brother.
Right.
Like,
I mean, and again, like it's not a unfathomable thing for Thomas to think, right? Like, as you're just saying, if we see this in a film or a movie or a TV show, I think about the TV show Game of Thrones, and again, I can picture that as a scene, right, where we just saw this person die, we just saw them, right, and we just were all in mourning and crying. Again, we're full of emotions, kind of similar to when Jesus was going to raise that little girl, the daughter of the head of the synagogue. Again, all those emotions that are there, and yet in the midst of all that, having to say, you know what, I have to rely still on my belief, right?
That's right.
I think that even speaks to the idea, again, even in situations, again, going back to even Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, going back to those situations where you're in a heightened state, where you're in an emotional state, relying back on your belief, relying back on your faith being the most important thing, rather than relying on
something physical.
Yeah, something physical. Again, which again requires work and constant work and reminder of who you are. Sorry, go ahead.
But Jeff, but what is that work though? You know, read your scriptures. You know, keep praying to your Father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. You know, you're part of this nation. That's the God that you worship. You call upon His name every day. You keep building that. Keep building that faith. Keep building that belief. And
then also, I think, staying connected, as someone said during a previous Bible study, is staying connected to the culture, right?
That's right.
I think that's important too, is staying connected to the culture and to the people that are in the culture helps to strengthen you. Helping,
100%.
Think about when, we speak about, things that have happened to us. So if I, in my life, have gone through something and the God of Israel has helped me in that thing, and then I come to you and I share that, that can give you faith and give you sort of a upliftment, right? So being around other brethren, being around this community, this family, and constantly, as you're saying, being in prayer and fasting and going to your scriptures, always to improve and help your belief to even be strengthened.
Jeff, and and we just read that.
Yeah.
When Jesus was raising the little girl, He had His 3 boys with Him.
Yeah.
Like, He had that atmosphere with Him.
Right.
Just like you just said.
Yeah.
The brethren that you're with.
Right.
You keep His culture. Don't forget about your brethren as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's no coincidence that when Jesus does pass, that one of the leaders of sort of the Israelites at that time becomes Peter, who actually was, again, one of the original 12 who got to see a lot of what Jesus did, right? So his experience around his brethren, his experience around someone else who had an extraordinary amount of power and belief allowed him to strengthen his belief, right? You know what I'm saying? So again, being around that community and those people, I think also can help you to strengthen your belief as well.
100%.
Which goes into the idea that I see all the time, you cannot be an Israelite alone, right?
No.
Yeah.
You cannot.
Right. Which brings us back to, if you like what you're hearing and you want to be a part of us, not only put the 7s and fires in the chat, but also click that link that's in the description, because that will help us to know that you're interested. You want to even join us and sort of be a part of this Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, right? So again, let's see the fires and those 7s in the chat. Like, subscribe, all those stuff. Okay, so let's go, as I was saying, Matthew 14. I love this.
14? Okay.
Yeah, Matthew chapter 14. And we'll start at verse... Yeah, we can do verse 22. Start there. So verse 22. And straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into his ship and to go before him unto the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up into the mountain apart to pray. And when the evening was come, he was there alone. But the ship was now in the midst of the sea, tossed with waves, for the wind was contrary. So again, I go back to the idea of you're watching a film, right? Mm-hmm. Or a TV show, or, a sort of IMAX like movie theater, right? And, you're seeing Jesus who's with the multitude, but he says, you know what? Put the multitude away. I'm going to be with my guys, the people who I selected and chose to be my people, my community.
That's right.
And he's with them, and he says, you know what? You guys, go on the ship. I'm going to go, and I'm going to pray, right? Mm-hmm. So again, going back to what you were saying, prayer is one of the tools that cannot be undersold, right? For lack of a better word. It's sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, it's needed.
Yeah.
You're part of this nation. Who do you call upon?
Yeah.
The God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
Right.
You're not here for idle hands.
Right.
You're not here just sitting in the back. Oh, I like that. No.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're here to work.
Right. And again, staying connected to the God of Israel. So he decides he's going to pray, right? And especially someone of sort of that magnitude, it's of utmost importance for him to be in constant prayer, right? So he goes to pray. He goes to pray. He comes back, and what happened? Or you should see that the ship is going to be into the middle of the sea now, right? And the waves are going all about, right? It says the waves were contrary. So the waves are going all about. The ship is in the middle of the sea, and no one is really aware of sort of like what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So where was I? Verse 25 now. And in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went unto them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit. And they cried out for fear. Now, I want to stop there too, because as we just saw with the examples that we gave, even from the Old Testament and the New, it's always around a period of fear, of being scared, of heightened emotion. And in this particular situation, they're saying, oh my goodness, I'm seeing something. Again, back to that film, I'm seeing someone walk on the water, right? And I think, that's why, go ahead.
But it's like, okay, again, put yourself in that spot, put yourself in that position. You're on a boat, there's a storm going on. Jesus said, go. And you're looking like, wait a minute. There's a man walking on water. Yeah. What's going on here?
Right.
Like you said, that emotion. Like, what's going on here? Like, what is that? Right. What is this?
Right. And I think it gets, again, the story I think is just so popularized that it's hard for us to really like grasp the magnitude of it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I think, again, as you were saying, putting yourself in those shoes, seeing what you're seeing, having never been told of, a story that's like this, what I'm saying, in pop culture, but just understanding that it's not physically feasible. So we all take science in school, right? Yeah. And we all learn about density and mass, and right? So we know it is not feasible for a man to walk on water, right?
I mean, put your foot in.
Exactly. I'm saying, right? So again, in this context, you're going out and you're seeing that something is not aligning with the physical laws of nature, or something is not aligning with what you've been taught or told, and now you're looking and you're seeing something that does not make sense to you. So what do? You cry out in fear.
Exactly.
Right? You're crying out in fear.
Because we fear what we don't understand.
Yeah. They don't understand it. They're saying it's a spirit, right? So, verse 27 now. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he's constantly telling them, don't be afraid. He's constantly telling them, don't fear, right? He's constantly saying, like, don't lose your faith and things of that nature, because he knows the things I'm showing you are not of this world.
It's funny you say that. It's not just Jesus, but like, what happens whenever an angel comes down or a spirit comes down to visit? What's the first thing they say?
Be not afraid.
Be not afraid.
Be not afraid. Which is, I think is so ironic, because in like movies, they're always showing us like these beautiful
and
everything.
These beautiful things.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, no.
Right.
What do we read here?
Yeah.
Be not afraid.
Exactly.
Because we can't imagine what they look like.
Right. So the fear is there, right?
There you go.
So whatever can instill in fear in you, any time of day, any time of night, that fear that is in you, again, because it does not align with what I'm used to, what I know is capable in this physical world, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, I'm so used to seeing this, I'm used to seeing that, and this mysterious thing comes down, fear not.
Exactly. So you should have taken aback in that moment. But Jesus, again, in this particular state is saying, be of good cheer. It is I, be not afraid. Verse 28. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. Now, I want to stop there too. I love this story so much. But I want to stop there because, again, one of the reasons why I think Peter is the one that says this, right? Is again because one, his close proximity to seeing the things that have been done before.
That's right.
And two, I think it's almost also this reason why I think Peter becomes the man he becomes when Jesus passes. Peter becomes that guy, right? Because of this, he has a sense of faith and belief and courage and curiosity, kind of similar to I would say even of like Moses, right? How Moses, when he went by the burning bush, he could have just walked right past, right? But he decided, let me go check this out, right?
But he saw a random burning bush.
Yeah.
There's no fire, there's no storm, it's not spreading.
Yeah.
What is this thing? Like, I have to look at it.
Exactly.
I have to touch it.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think in the same way, Peter is showing a sense of curiosity, but also, I think I would say a sense of belief in saying, if that is really you, I know that I should be able to come with you. I should be able to come with you because I know I've seen what you've done. So I should be able to walk on that water with you, right? Okay, so verse 28 again. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water. Verse 29. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus.
I'm sorry, what happened?
Okay, we'll read it again.
What?
Verse 29. And he said, come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Jesus.
He walked on the water to head towards Jesus.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty profound. And I think one of the things, again, we'll kind of get to it as we finish this part. But, I think, again, just to see that Peter is willing to not only go out, but then is able to actually do this thing, going towards Jesus. Because, again, imagine you are Peter and you've seen what Jesus has done. You know who this person is. And you are saying, because I've seen what that is, it has strengthened my own faith, my own ability to also do this thing.
Your
so
own
therefore,
belief.
I'm going to do it. Exactly.
Your own belief.
Exactly.
Okay, he sees this. Okay, if you are my Lord, let me come with you.
Yeah.
Okay, hop on down.
Right.
Now he's walking on water too.
Right. So Peter in this situation is sort of partaking in, we'll say, this miracle, right? He's partaking in this thing that, again, does not have a physical logic or reasoning or answer behind it, right?
No, it's not. It's something highly spiritual.
Yeah.
And that's what the world's not going to understand.
Yeah. Right.
And like you said earlier, you got to differentiate from the physical and the spirit.
Yeah.
You're going to separate that.
Exactly.
That's a very, very hard thing to do.
Exactly. Okay, so verse 30. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. Again, going back, to that film. Again, let's sort of like back up a little, right? So we saw Jesus, he went to go pray. The ship goes out in the middle of the water. The waves are going crazy, right? They're sort of like panicking on the ship. They see someone walking on the water, right? And you can imagine this is the part in the film where they zoom into the feet and you see the feet going on the water, right? One at a time.
That's right.
And then we zoom out again and we see Peter. He's going towards the edge and he says, if that's really you, right? Let me come with you.
That's right.
And he goes out off of the ship. And what do you think his first thought is when he's taking that first step?
He's like,
right?
Oh boy, am I gonna?
Yeah, I mean, again, I have been swimming a few times, right? I have not once thought if I step on the water, I'm gonna be able to stand, right? I assume that my body's gonna go right through, right? Which is why I don't step in like 25 foot of water because I can't swim that well, right? So he does this. He takes that first step, second step,
boom,
the third step, and he's good, right? He keeps going, he's good.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, the wind starts to blow. The water starts to go a little bit. So again, as we were just saying, moments of fear, moments of discomfort.
There you go.
You often rely on what you're used to. You rely on what you practice, right? I think there's a saying that goes, you will get perfect at whatever you practice, right? So
That's right.
Even if it's being afraid and going back to relying on that physical world, if that's what you're used to, if that's what you've been practicing throughout your life, that's going to be your reaction in moments of fear.
Practice makes perfect.
Exactly.
Repetition is key.
Exactly. So he does that, and because he is fearful, because he's fearful, he loses that belief, right? So let's keep going. So he says, Lord, save me. And I'm imagining he's sinking again. And again, let's also put into context the fear of water, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Have you ever been and seen like huge waves before? It's a frightening thing, right?
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
And they're walking out in the middle of a storm.
Yeah.
So now the storm's getting worse. He goes, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. I get scared just being out and like seeing the thunder and lightning. You know what I'm saying? So that mixed in complete darkness and being on the sea, I can only imagine the fear that can be there, right?
Again, just imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine the people on the ship and they're seeing this. Like, wait, he stopped moving. What's happening?
Exactly.
What's going on in their minds?
But a question that I do want to know is, if you were on the ship and you're watching Peter, what's going through your mind?
I'm like, wait a minute. Is he something special too? Does he have it also? Like,
right. Yeah. So verse what did I say? 30. We go to 30. When he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt?
O thou of little faith.
Again, the idea of faith.
Little faith.
Little faith. And again, I actually really like that question. It's a rhetorical question, but I like that question because I think it's something too that we can say in our modern day context, right? We can't even fathom that Jacobites are the children of Israel, that black people in the Americas and throughout the world who are the children of slavery are the children of Israel, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We can't even in this world say and agree that God exists, just the existence. We can't even fathom that God and the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob made the heavens, earth on, in 7 days. We can't even think about that. We can't fathom that, right? So this idea, O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt? How can we then expect to see miracles like this when we are such in an elementary state when it comes to our faith, our belief, our mindset, right? It's so very little.
And Jeff, that's what you said before. That physical, we're seeing that physical.
Right.
He took a few steps. I'm walking on water. The storm gets worse. No. Yeah. He's seeing that physical.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem, as you said before, that we all have. Yeah. Especially in today's time.
Yeah.
We got to separate that physical from the spiritual. It's truly a hard thing to do, but something that needs to be worked on.
Right.
Okay.
And I mean, that's such a key point of working on that, because as we've been saying this whole time, you're not going to just have the belief or have the faith. You have to work on that and practice at that, right? And stay connected to the culture to enhance that, right?
Amen.
Exactly.
Amen.
Okay, so did I want to read any more? I guess that's okay. Okay, so let's stop there when it comes to that. Again, just emphasizing more so the idea of belief. And even in this miracle, as we always say, when we have a miracle, there are those that will believe before the miracle and that know. And then there are those that when the miracle comes, that's when they believe, right?
That's right.
They go, oh, now I see, right? So I want to go to a scripture that I actually really like for this exact point. Can we go to, I think it's Mark 5, is that the one? Or do we do the one already? I'm sorry, I think it's John 11. Let's go to John 11.
Let's see.
John 11.
John 11? Yeah, let's see. What's happening here?
John 11, and let's go to verse 11, verse 20, I think. Okay, so let's start from verse 20 of John 11.
No, I'll read.
Okay.
Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Jesus was coming, went and met him. But Mary sat still in the house. Then said Martha unto Jesus, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. But I know that even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of God, God will give it thee.
So, I want to stop there.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Martha who's here. And would you say she is someone based upon what she's saying right now with a large amount of belief and faith? Or would you say a very little amount of belief and faith?
I'll say large.
Yeah. I mean, I think even in what she's saying, like, but I know that even now, whatsoever that will ask of God, God will give it to thee.
Exactly.
I mean, that's an incredible amount of faith to say, like,
that verse right there alone.
Yeah, that verse alone to say, again, I know who you are, I know what you've done, and I know if you were to pray and ask God something, He's going to answer that. Right? All right, you can keep going.
Jesus saith unto her, Thy brother shall rise again. Martha saith unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day.
And this is kind of funny because I think, like, she's not understanding what he's saying in this moment. She's sort of interpreting it in a bit of a different way.
Yeah.
And again, like, he is telling her, thy brother is gonna rise, right? And she's saying, yeah, I know, like at some point, but like he's saying, no. It's like he has to explain it even further to her. But still, I think even for her, I think it still goes back to the idea of not being able to fathom what is capable with that amount of belief and faith, and what is capable as Israelites serving the Almighty God, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Sounds right. Quick.
That's right. Jesus saith unto her, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believest thou this? She saith unto him, Yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Christ, the Son of God, who should come into the world. And when she had said she went her way and called Mary her sister secretly, saying, The Master is come and calleth for thee.
So we see, again, just for some context, or to just explain what we just read, is that Martha is with him, and Martha is explaining, if you had been here, my brother, he would not have died. But I know that whatever you do, whatever God, like whatever you ask of God, God's going to give it.
That's right.
And he's saying, your brother's going to rise again. She's like, yeah, I know it, like at some point. And he's like, no, I am this, I am that. And with belief, if you believe, this can occur, right?
With your belief.
And she says, okay, cool. So she goes back, talks to her sister and says, hey, the master's here, right? Okay.
Again, with your belief. Oof. Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Truly powerful stuff.
Okay, so let's keep going. So you want to go to verse 29?
As soon as she heard that, she arose quickly and came unto him. Now Jesus was not yet come into the town, but was in that place where Martha met him. The Jews then which were with her in the house, and comforted her. When they saw Mary, she rose up hastily and went out, followed her, saying, She goeth unto the grave to weep there. Then when Mary was come where Jesus was, and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying unto him, Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died.
Right. So again, she keeps going back to that idea, right, of understanding, or again, this is Mary now, but understanding again that who this person is, right? Understanding his power, understanding, and again, speaking more so to her belief of, I know what you can do, and I know what you've done, and I believe that you would have been able to do this thing, right?
I believe that, again, that belief.
Right.
Okay, 33. When Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping, which came with her, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled, and said, Where have ye laid him? They say unto him, Lord, come and see. Jesus wept. Then said the Jews, Behold how he loved him. And some of them said, Could not this man which opened the eyes of the blind have caused that even this man should not have died? See, you help those see that were blind. You can't do this. So it's oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's again just understanding and knowing how Jacobites are. I sense a little bit of like attitude in that too. You know what I'm saying? Like
definitely.
The sense of like, oh, this guy who could do this, but why can't he do this, right? So again, I think again going back to it, even when he says in verse 34, where have you laid him? I get the sense of like, like
okay,
I have to prove this again. I have to show this again.
Where?
Yeah.
Like, take me like
right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. 38. Jesus therefore again groaning in himself cometh to the grave, because he's tired of doing this. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. Jesus said, Take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, saith unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days.
Okay, let's stop there really quickly. And I think, again, this is something that, again, Martha is the sister of this man, right? And she is saying in this time, even if I believe and I've seen you do these miracles, it's been 4 days now.
That's right.
It's been some time, and now he's starting to decompose, and like even more so again going against that idea of the physical world of being like, even if I believed before that you could revive someone when they were dead for 5 minutes or an hour or a couple hours, now we're talking about someone that's been 4 days, and I don't know, man. Like he's gonna stink,
Is the body's still there? The body's there, but just a little crumpled. Like, what's happening?
Right, so things are starting to happen, and she again, this goes totally against what again the world and the physical world has told her about what is capable and possible, right? But keep going.
40. Jesus saith unto her, Said I not unto thee that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God? Okay. Did I just tell you?
Yeah.
If you believe, didn't I just speak about that a couple verses ago?
Right.
Like he has to be so annoyed at this point.
Yeah. I mean, again, but again, I understand his annoyance, and I understand his constant need to be like, I just told you the importance of this. I just expressed why you need to believe, right? But at the same time, again, I go back to the idea of, or the concept of working at that belief, and that it's very hard and difficult for us to even, in today's context, our number one thing, our number one fight for the last 20 odd years for the Israelite nation has been trying to get people to understand who they are, right? Trying to get people to understand that the Jacobites are the children of Israel. Trying to get people to understand who our God is. And that, again, I go back to the idea of that is elementary, because these people all know we're Israel. They all know that. They all worship the God of Israel, right? They all have seen in some way, shape, or form Jesus do what he does. And they know his importance, right? But yet still, they are working with almost a bigger beast, a bigger meal to be like, now I have to swallow the pill of that this miracle is possible, right? To raise the dead and to make them living. That's something that I don't think anyone who has to take their time and question, does God exist? You're not ready for that level of belief and faith, because again, that's a big jump, a big leap, right? You know what I'm saying?
And like you said, this is Israel back here, right here. If our captives, if our enemies can see, the miracles of our God, but we can't. What does that tell you right there?
Right.
What does that tell you right there about us as a people?
Right.
Oh my goodness.
For sure. All right. So where were we?
41.
Okay, go ahead.
Then they took
away. Can you actually read
41
more time? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Jesus said unto her, Said I not unto thee that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of God? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. And I knew that thou hearest me always. But because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me.
Okay, we have to stop there.
Okay, let's break that down.
I mean, this is truly a few powerful verses. I mean, from verse 40 even to verse 41 and 42, again, emphasizing the belief, emphasizing, didn't I just tell you, if you believe, you'll see the glory of God, right? And again, I don't think we understand sometimes what that means, the glory of God. But I think, again, like, if you can truly fathom or even try to understand, I mean, the scriptures say we can't even understand God's flaws, right? We can't understand anything about him in its full context. But just understand, if you can believe that all things are possible through the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, then that is what all is required for that to occur. Exactly. And then going to verse 41, I love that Jesus says, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. And this, before I get into verse 42, is important because it goes back to the idea of why prayer is important, right? Imagine you're in a situation that's difficult for you. You need to be strengthened. You need your spirit to be strengthened. You go and pray to be delivered from that thing.
That's right.
I mean, don't you think your prayer is sort of more likely to be heard if you've been practicing and doing the prayers all this time, right?
100%.
Don't you think that when you do pray, and you're praying again to the God that made the heavens and the earth, the God that, as people don't like to say, does not have to answer or listen to your prayer at all, because that is God, right? He's the beginning and the last. I make the rules, right? I don't have to listen to your prayer, right? But Jesus is wise enough to say, Father, thank thee that thou hast even just heard me. I love that, you know? Going to verse 42, and I knew that thou hearest me always. But because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. Again, he's understanding. He's like, I know who I am. I know who you are. I know that you hear me when I call upon you. But I have to keep saying these things because the people who I'm around, the people who you sent me to save and to protect and to teach about these things and about you, they don't get it yet. And I gotta keep referring back to you to say, believe in our Father, believe in our God. Watch, I'm gonna pray to let this person live. I'm gonna pray to let this person walk or see or whatever it may be, and that miracle is gonna get you to believe. So it's the frustrate, like
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
Sorry.
Like again and time and again and again and again. You know, that repetition right here.
Yeah.
Like, you can't imagine how he's feeling right now. But it's a job that he has to do, a job that needs to be done.
Right.
You know, make these people believe.
Yeah.
You know, and now we have to see this physical thing, which is actually spiritual, happen for them to believe.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, how we differentiate from the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's him trying his hardest to again, I could see why he gets frustrated, right? But he's trying his hardest to get these people to understand who they are. But it's very difficult, as you just said, separating the physical and the spiritual, especially living amongst, at this time, Gentiles and other nations who have their own way of living, their own way of life that is very physical.
Exactly.
So if you can remember back to when we wanted a king, right?
Yeah.
We were in our own land doing our own thing. And even then we were influenced, right? But imagine now we're living sort of amongst a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people, and it's from other nations who don't do what we do, right? And now because of that, we have adopted some of that mindset, some of that physicality, and we've been influenced from that point all those years ago to now we're here in the time of Jesus, still having a trouble with that idea of faith and belief and not following other nations and their physical beliefs and physical ways.
Because we still want to see that physical thing. We still want to see that physical act.
Yeah.
We still want to see that physical. Like, it's mind-boggling.
It is. It is.
And sorry to say, even in today's time, you know, they want that something physical.
Right.
They want to see the cross,
the
temple, whatever statue. They want to see that physical thing in order to believe. But we, at the Israelite Nation, Worldwide Ministries, we're all spiritual. We're a spiritual people, a spiritual nation.
Right. For sure. Okay, so I'm sorry. Let's do 41 again, just so we can get, and then I'll
Sure.
One stop, sorry.
Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me. You know, it's awesome. That prayer, like you said. And I knew that thou hearest me always, but because of thy people, which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave cloths, and his face was bound with a napkin. And Jesus saith unto him, Loose him and let him go. Okay, so he did that prayer. He said the prayer, Lazarus, rise up. What's happened? He's bounded. His face is covered. Because remember, she said he's been buried for 4 days. You know, so he's already started decomposing. So what happens next? Sorry, 45. Thank you. Then many of the Jews came to Mary and had seen the things which Jesus did, believed on him. But some of them went their ways to the Pharisees and told them what the things Jesus had done.
So again, just going back to 45 really quickly, you know, it's the miracle. You know, as Jesus just said in verse 42, it's the reason why I do this. Not for me, because I know, but it's for those who are around me. And we see the result. Once this miracle occurs in verse 45, then many of the Jews, again, these are Jews, which means they know I am an Israelite. My forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're not struggling as we are today with even that thought, right?
No.
So these are Israelites, which came to Mary and had seen the things which Jesus did, believed on him.
Believed.
But it's the miracle that allows for that to occur for those that did not see it before or believe before. And I think that is sort of key, especially for us in this modern day, to kind of get a sense of, again, that is a part of our job, is to get people to see, but to realize that we as Israelites, we as men and women, a part of the Israelite nation, worldwide ministries, it is our job to use our life to almost do as Jesus did, to show forth situation in which our God and my God can deliver.
That's right.
And my God and our God can truly perform miracles that the world has never seen, right? I mean, I even go back to stories like when the Israelites were coming out of Egypt and the Egyptians saw the Red Sea open. I mean, I can imagine that feeling of like, oh, there is a God. And that is exactly the feeling that we should be trying to be put into the hearts and the minds of all those who are around us on a day-to-day basis, that I am an Israelite, my God is the God of Israel, and through me, you're going to see that.
You know? And Jeff, and you know, back in Samuel, 1 Samuel, God of Israel said, I did these things when I left Egypt.
Yes.
All right, you saw what happened in Egypt.
Yeah.
You saw when we came out of Egypt, we were in the wilderness, and you still want that physical thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
You know, you like, it comes to full circle here.
That's a good point.
It comes to full circle here. Here we are, generations later, years later. Okay, like you said, you know, we're surrounded by other nations at this point. Oh, okay, can we see that miracle? You know, if you were there, you know, he would have been alive. What's going on? Like, you know, you heal the blind man, bring my brother back to life. Like, it's what?
You're right. I mean, that's so true. That's so true. And again, I just keep going back to the idea of having to work on it, having to practice it, having to stay connected to the culture, to the community, because again, we cannot be Israel by ourselves, right? And I think, again, that is part of the reason we constantly are trying to have those who watch these videos and listen to this stuff to really contact us, to click the link in the bio, to really get a sense of, if you would like to join us to be a part of the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, let us know, because again, what we do here, this is a part of what we do, but we do even more to, again, enhance our spirit, our strength in faith and belief, so that we don't have to worry about, the smaller battles of, does God exist? We know God exists, right? We know the God of Israel exists. There's no need for us in our, amongst other Israelites to even have that debate, right? There's no need amongst other Israelites to have the debate of, are we Israel? Because we know that already.
Exactly.
It's time for us to look at our lives and implement faith and belief in bigger ways than that, right? And I think that's a part of the, the key of what we're trying to get at is, let's use belief and faith in ways the world has never seen before, which goes beyond sort of that elementary way of looking at belief, right?
Sure. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
For
Jeff.
sure.
Know, look at the broader picture. Okay. So much more is at play here.
Yeah.
Don't focus on the little things like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the bigger things at hand.
Right.
We know who our God is.
Mm-hmm.
We know there is a God. There's many gods. I mean, look at the first commandment. Like, we know who our God is. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be a part of this nation. We worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now it's time to work. And what is that work? What is your job?
Mm-hmm.
Like these are the things you got to focus on now.
Right.
Like it's oof,
right.
crazy.
And again, just going back to what Jesus said here, like, again, I constantly go back to the idea of he understood. He says, Father, I thank thee for thou hast heard me. Again, understanding where his power comes from and understanding the need to let others know where his power comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So even when we do things and we do things within our lives, it's important for us to then go back to say, the God of Israel, I'm giving you that honor, and to let people know, like, I can do this because my God allowed me to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can perform this. I can do this because my God allowed me to be victorious,
Exactly. Like everything I do, thank you, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob.
Yeah.
And like you said, we have that test, or we're in a little bit of trouble, or whatever it is going on.
Yeah.
You have men to pray with me. Pray with me. Call upon my Father. Like, help me with this.
For sure.
That togetherness, that belief, that faith.
Definitely. And, I think about going back to the beginning of this conversation and speaking about, the different enslavements that we've had. We've kind of gone over some of them, being in Rome, being in Babylon,
That's
right? I think again, like when we think about today, that faith that we have as a people today is so dwarfed,
It is.
And I think I go back to Psalms 83, right, about that name of Israel being no more in remembrance, sorry. And I think about that as being one of the most difficult things that we've had to deal with now, because we're constantly trying to debate things that we should already know, which doesn't allow us the time to practice that faith and belief that we would like to, right?
That's right.
So, I mean, we're kind of towards the end here.
But Jeffrey,
sorry, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Put one more thing. If you want to be part of this nation, you want to worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as long as there's breath in your lungs, there's still time.
Mm-hmm.
You can still build that faith. You can still build that belief. Doesn't matter how old you are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How old was Abraham? 75?
75 years old. That's right.
Age is but a number. Long as there's breath in your body, there's still time.
Yeah.
Always.
And again, he is always a great example for, again, that amount of faith that we seek to have, right, is the faith of Abraham. I mean, there's a reason why God made that promise with him and why the covenant started with him, because of the faith that he had, the belief he had. I mean, I always like to say at that point in the world, God, for lack of a better term, didn't have the resume, right? You know how in the later chapters in the scriptures, the God of Israel says, "I took you out of Egypt," right? I mean, that is a part of his resume to say, like, I've shown you what I've done. But I think it's in the same way with Abraham, who didn't have that to go by. I'm sure it was other things, but who didn't have that to go by, is going off of just knowing that there is a God, there is a Lord who I have to follow and worship. And I think that's part of the reason why the God of Israel loved him so much in that way,
right. And again, he just knew. This voice is calling to me. I know. I feel this. I believe in this. I'm going down this path.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So
beautiful.
After all that, I would like to just pose a question that hopefully you can answer in the chat, which is, do we need miracles to believe? Do we need miracles to believe? Put it in the chat after all this discussion. Let us know what your thoughts are. And again, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for allowing us to grace your living room or your family room and your TVs to allow us to have such an uplifting discussion about our God and who we are as Israel and what our mandate is, which is to teach the world about how great our God is, right? And let's continue to, again, push that idea that faith and belief requires work. That's right. And it requires connection to other people who are like-minded and like-spirited, right? Amen. So please contact us. Click the link in the description. Like, subscribe, fires, sevens. As the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, we are happy to do what we do. Please reach out to us. So with that said, thank you for a great discussion, Eddie. That was an amazing topic.
Of course.
I loved all these scriptures and the great discussion that we had. With that said, do you have anything that you want to end with?
No, just thank you very much. Thank you for your time. As Jeffrey said, comment down below, like, fire.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Thank you guys. And with that said, peace.